What is a home inspection? It's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. We've got a bunch of valuable information for you, so hang tight and we'll get right into it. If we've never met before, my name is Gavin Sessions with Loans Made Simple, and if you're curious to learn about all things related to home loans and mortgage, you're in the right place. Subscribe to our channel. We post new content each week. All right, let's jump into home inspections. We're going to do that by reviewing 3 key sections and then going through some frequently asked questions. All right, so our first section where we're going to get started is the what and the why. In other words, we're going to define what a home inspection is and why it matters, why we think you should get one. So the home inspection is conducted by a certified home inspector, and their job is frankly to provide you a very comprehensive report of the home's condition. The inspector's exam is meant to be exhaustive. They are going to go through as much of that home as they possibly can. They're going to look at things like the foundation, the siding, the flooring, the windows, the roof, the driveway, the sidewalks, the garage flooring, the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC. They're going to look at the appliances. They're going to give you, like I said, the most exhaustive possible report of that home's condition in hopes that all of its components are working as expected. The goal is to identify as many defects as possible, and those things would have a negative impact on the home's value or the safety of the home. The goal is to provide the buyer an opportunity to have their eyes wide open. So think of when you're buying a car, you take it to a mechanic to have it reviewed. A home inspector is very much like the mechanic for a house. They are basically flipping up the hood on that house and giving you a complete report of what they find. So the home inspection is typically the first step to ensure the buyer is fully informed. And it's typically the first contingency that the buyer will release. So since I mentioned contingencies, when you go under contract, when you write a purchase and sale agreement, you're typically going to have many contingencies. The 3 I want to mention today are contingency based on inspection, contingency based on the appraisal, and contingency based on the buyer's financing. If any of those contingencies fail, the buyer is able to back out. But let's get back to specifically the home inspection contingency. So focusing on the inspection contingency, if significant issues were found and were unable to be resolved, or if the buyer simply didn't feel comfortable moving forward, buyer's earnest money would be refunded and the contract would be terminated. So now that we've discussed the what and the why, let's jump into when the home inspection should occur and why that timing matters. So picture you're a potential buyer, you view a home, you like it enough to make an offer, you come to terms with the seller, and then you put your earnest money down, and you are officially under contract to purchase that home. You might love that home, but it's best to keep that to yourself, as soon as you love something, you've given up your opportunity to get a great deal. The home inspection is one of the key things that's going to help your realtor be able to negotiate with the seller repairs and or a lower purchase price. So the inspection occurs after all parties have agreed to the purchase and sales agreement, and it almost always occurs prior to the appraisal. And the reason it occurs prior to the appraisal is typically the first loan cost that is incurred by the buyer. So as we already mentioned, the inspection results will potentially allow you to renegotiate with the seller. If the property is in great shape, the buyers might move forward as is, and they would release their inspection contingency at that point and move forward in the process. Or if the findings are less than favorable, they can use those results to go back to the seller to negotiate repairs and or a lower purchase price. Now's a good time for us to pause though, because we mentioned the appraisal. Let's just talk about that for a very quick minute. It's worth noting that the home inspection and the home appraisal are different things and they serve different purposes. We've already discussed in detail what the home inspection is. The appraisal is frankly a third-party opinion of value based on homes that are similar in size and location to the subject property. Basically, the appraisal helps the buyer confirm that the price is right relative to the market. Quick note before we move on, if for some reason the appraisal occurs prior to the home inspection and the inspection results lead the buyer to terminate the contract, it is possible that the buyer would still be charged for the appraisal by their lender. So that's worth noting. The reason for that is the appraiser is not an employee of the lender. The appraiser is a third-party service provider and they've completed the work that you asked them to do. Just want to pause the video for a quick moment and invite you to connect with us if you're ready to take the next step to get qualified and speak to a mortgage professional, a loan officer, or if you'd like to get connected to a great real estate agent, click the links below. All right, let's move on to our third section where we're going to discuss the cost and why it's worth it. So at the time this video was filmed, the average cost for a single family home inspection ranges between $300 and $500. But that largely depends upon the size of the home, the size of the property, the complexity of the property, the number of outbuildings, et cetera, or potentially additional services that may be needed by the inspector. But if you consider the potential savings by addressing these problems and being aware of these problems before you buy the home, it can be a major savings for you in the long run. So the $300 to $500 or potentially more, depending on property complexity, is well worth it. Buyers will typically pay the home inspector directly, which means it's not part of the loan. In other words, the home inspection fee is not considered a closing cost for your loan. Occasionally, a seller may opt for a pre-listing inspection so that they can understand the condition of the property and then share that knowledge with a potential buyer. Now, buyer beware, I would always say it's best to hire your own inspector to provide their objective third-party opinion of the property, but it certainly doesn't hurt to see a report provided by the seller. So now that we've covered the what, the when, and the why about home inspections, let's sum it up with a few frequently asked questions. The first good question we have here is a home inspection required if I'm getting a loan? And the answer is very simply no. A home inspection is almost never required and certainly would not be required by your lender. But as we've mentioned before, it's a great idea to get a home inspection because it helps you go into the process eyes wide open. It helps you ensure you know what you're buying. Next question, as the buyer, can I attend and be part of the home inspection? Absolutely, and it would be recommended for you to be on site during the home inspection. Depending on how inquisitive or curious you are, you can feel free to talk to your inspector throughout the process and get real-time information. They're, of course, also going to deliver to you a comprehensive report, but it is recommended for you to be on site if possible. If you can't make it, certainly ask your real estate agent to be there as a proxy. And if you need an introduction to a great realtor, scroll down, find our description below, reach out to us. We'll get you connected to a great real estate agent in your market. Next question, is a home inspection recommended or necessary if I'm buying a brand new home from a builder? The answer is absolutely yes. Most builders will provide you a 1-year warranty, and that is super valuable, but it's much easier to address any issue that is found, whether that's large or small, when all parties are motivated to complete the sale. Take it from my personal experience, it's much more challenging to get the builder back on site after you've already moved in and the home has closed. If you're going through the build process, please note there are some substantial milestones that might require additional inspection. So it might be worth your while to have your inspector on site multiple times throughout the process just to ensure that the home is being built correctly and according to code. Next, how do I find a good home inspector? Short answer, start with the recommendation of your realtor. They likely will have 2 to 3 great resources that they trust and have used many times before, and you'll likely end up choosing one of them that is available based on the timing and the urgency that the inspection is needed. The next video we suggest you watch is this one we did recently on home appraisals. It will explain what an appraisal is and how it relates to the process. Hopefully all your questions were answered. Leave us a comment. We'll see you on the next video.